Hello everyone, I'm hoping you can see me. I'm getting a few warnings on YouTube that our stream rate isn't good enough for everyone, so let's see how this goes. Hopefully it won't be too bad. Obviously with the current lockdown in the UK, everyone's internet is kind of struggling at the moment because all the children are at home and everyone's on the internet all the time, so we're not in the office, we don't have the highest stream rates of our office and things like that, so you'll have to bear with us if the live stream is a little bit slow or a little bit buffeted even. I'm just going to see why we're not seeing the chats. 1 second. Get this chat sorted out. Okay, I'm not sure why the chat windows aren't showing correctly, but we're going to assume they may or may not kick in at some point. We don't always have many people online anyway, so I'm not sure the chat's too important. But okay, so welcome everyone. Happy New Year to those that we've not spoken to since the new year started. I'm getting told that nothing is coming up. I think I'll just continue. I think the stream's running a bit slow, so like I say, I'm expecting a bit of a buffering to go. Not receiving enough video. Okay, I'm going to end this stream and try again. Okay, sorry about that. I've had to reduce down the level of resolution and stuff on my screen and the amount of bandwidth, the amount of data I'm sending over the internet to make this stream work. So apologies if there's areas that don't quite look right. It's because I've done to do a kind of last minute adjustment, and in fact I'm going to do one more. I'm going to get rid of a couple of bits that you don't really need. And I'm going to put this screen back up to here, so you'll still see me, but okie dokie. So yeah, so Happy New Year to everyone, and like I say, if we haven't spoken to you before, then welcome to a 2021, which seems just like the same as 2020 to me, but I'm not sure about anybody else. I've decided for 2021 to be on brand, so I am wearing my CiviCRM hoodie. Let's show it that way, even to the right camera. Although I haven't got the hat, so maybe I'll go for try and get a baseball cap. You might still hear my fish tank in the corner. Apologies, I can't seem to get it any quieter. And so today's session, we've had some feedback from people about the length of the sessions. They're a bit too long, they're saying. And I've had some internal feedback from one of our staff. I won't mention any names, but his name starts with a G, ends in an I, and has got an op in the middle. Has said my kitchen is a bit dirty and it doesn't look very professional. So I just wanted to reiterate, these videos are community videos. We're doing them without trying to invest too much time and energy in them. They're more to help people get up to speed, to learn about CiviCRM. And the idea and the philosophy behind them is that, the more people that learn the knowledge that we've gained over the last 15 years, the better it is for the ecosystem, the better it is for the community, the more users there will be, and it will pay for itself in the long run. So apologies if things are a little bit non-professional. They're not supposed to be honest. We're not trying to make them professional marketing videos. Not really about that. They're about trying to learn about CiviCRM and trying to get the maximum that you can out of CiviCRM. So anyway, that's the end of that. So in this week's session, it's episode 9, we're going to talk about the user interface for CiviCRM. On this one, I'm kind of sticking to WordPress right now because the Drupal side of things is well covered in the community. Like there's a lot of information about Shoreditch and the different themes and how you can control stuff and web form and blah 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 and all the rest of it. What isn't always obviously clear for the WordPress community and WordPress users is how do you do this without plugins, right? So in the WordPress world, you just go and get some plugins to do whatever you want to do, and life's pretty simple. You're not really expected to be engineer type people as such. So it's that community where it's not quite clear how things work. Sorry, my spotter is saying that the stream isn't working. Just give me 1 second. Let me just make sure that everything is going according to plan. Because I am seeing I'm not sure I'm not sure why she's saying she can't see it. I'm seeing a live stream on YouTube, so apologies about that. Alright, let's get on with this, otherwise we'll never finish. So what we're going to talk about today is in WordPress in particular, how do you control the UI, how do you make the CiviCRM user interface nicer, more in line with Shoreditch. How can you control what people can or can't see, how they access stuff, etc. I think I know what was wrong. So I hadn't made the stream public. I've just done that. So if someone was trying to join live, apologies, but you should be able to join live now. So you should be able to join now and get and be able to view that stream. I'm sorry about that. It's because the last live session we did, we had to do some edits to it, and we took it offline. We made it not public, and when I copied that one, it's obviously carried over the settings and kept this one private as well. So welcome to 2021, teething issues. So like I say, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how you do that in the WordPress world. So let's before we get too into this, it's important to cover off some terminology. You often hear, people band about user interface, UI, UX. UX is user experience, UI is user interface. It's not always clear what people mean when they're talking about that, because what you see is inadvertently quite tightly linked with the permissions and the access control of what you should be able to see. So the two are kind of intrinsically linked. So these are my perceptions, and this is how I try to explain things to people when we're going through system implementations. It's the user interface is just how things should look from a user perspective. That includes font, a nice user interface, colors, branding, etc. It's kind of that side of stuff. Access control in the Civi world, it's ACLs, permissions, roles, profiles. You'll hear all these kind of terms bandied about. Daniel's saying my live video looks off. I'm not sure what she means. Daniel, if you can hear me, it's too late. There's not a lot we can do about it now. Maybe I can push that down a little bit. Yeah, it's not a lot I can do about it. I was trying to change some of those settings to get the bandwidth down, but they've obviously had an impact somewhere. So what we're saying, access control. So yeah, access control is called many things, but the way that I try to get our users to think about it is think of it in terms of spreadsheets and rows and columns, right? So access control is about which spreadsheet should a person be able to see. So each sheet in effect is an entity, so the contacts, contributions, events, so they all contain information about that area of the system. So that's a sheet, and then within that area of the system you've got different rows and different columns. So rows are different contacts, stroke, don't move, she's saying. Right, so different rows are different records. So it could be a different contact, a different contribution, and then the columns themselves are the different fields. So, for instance, at a contact level, I've got a first name, a last name, etc. They're all different columns. So it might be as a volunteer, I'm not showing you a person's name. For whatever reason, like, I'm not trying to go through real life examples here, but it's just an example. So I might set up an access control layer. That means that a particular type of user or a particular group of users can't see columns of information, regardless of UI, UX, whatever. They can't get to it. So their interface will never show that. At the same time, I might say, well, if a contribution is a donation, so let's say I'm doing a membership organization and I only want membership users to see membership related donations, contributions, then I might set my access control up so that membership users can only see membership related payments, i.e. membership dues, if you look at the financial types. Whereas an event manager might be able to see event donation, event contributions as well at the same time. So that's kind of the rows within the system and columns that I'm trying to hide. So access control is actually quite a complex thing. There's many different things, and this doesn't even cover what you can or can't do. So the last kind of bullet point here is about you've also got then the bit on top that says, well, yes, you can see contributions, but you can't add and you can't change, right? So you're kind of getting into this matrix of access control. So they're the two different areas. So sometimes you'll hear UI and it's all about branding, and it doesn't always take into account the fact that different people need to see different bits of information. So to me, they're always intrinsically linked, and you can't necessarily talk about them in isolation. It doesn't always work. So you can talk about UI in terms of branding and colors and fonts. But if you're talking about it in terms of screens and displays, then you need to make sure you cover off access control as well at the same time. So, okay, let's do the next screen. So in the last episode or the episode before, I can't remember which one, we talked about digital transformation. I've put episode 8. I'm not 100% sure now. It's such a long time ago. With my kind of take on this is worth reiterating. You don't have to get this right 100% from day one. It's all configurable. So it's just something that you should be aware of the possibilities and what you can or can't do, because you'll get asked by clients stroke users, can we do this, can we do that? So as long as you know it's possible, then you can always implement it and fine tune it at a later stage. And also, it's not always pertinent to get this 100% right when you're launching a system. Sometimes it can just become a bottleneck, especially if you're going from a system where, let's say the membership department had access to the CRM and nobody else, and then the events team were using their own thing. Well, then you might talk about phases and trying to get everybody onto the system and giving them basic rights to the point, and then over time evolving that. My disclaimers here at the bottom are, don't try and have everyone as an admin. That would be one thing. You don't want to do. At the minimum, you want to set up a new role, new permissions, and give everyone that set of permissions, and not leave them on the standard admin permissions, because then when you're trying to break them away, you're going to potentially hit more obstacles. Whereas if you had a separate profile in the first place, separate role in the first place, it's a lot easier to maintain it. And we still see clients, we still see users that are sharing accounts. So the same user is logged in as somebody else's account and things like that. That's a big no-no. You really don't want to do that, because when things go wrong, or there's data being accessed, and let's say there's a GDPR inquiry about things, it really puts you in a difficult position, because you're not 100% sure who made that change. At what point did this new user start using the old user's account? There's so many different variations. So these are just kind of, they're common sense, but we still see it, especially in not-for-profit sector. Resources are stretched, people come in and out, and you kind of get this situation where things aren't always done the right way, and the basics aren't there. So these are things to think about. Plugins I'm using: a user role editor, CiviCRM admin utils. These are WordPress, obviously, and CiviCRM itself. There might be a few other things that I throw into the picture. I've got a disclaimer, so we're gonna do this, but for us as a consultancy, running these sessions is actually quite hard work. So what I'm trying to do is balance getting them out regularly and getting information out to potential CiviCRM users, and then the amount of time and effort it takes us to do to prep them. So this one, I have done literally zero prep. Apart from an environment, I've literally done nothing much else. So I'm expecting things to go wrong. All right, so that's my disclaimer here. And then I've just reiterated that my kitchen's a bit messy, but I'm hoping that you're not here to see how clean my kitchen is, and you're here to see about how this stuff works. So let's get on with this. So let me minimize that. So I have my WordPress CiviCRM install here. My system's showing critical. I've not updated it. If we get a chance at the end, I'll run an upgrade. If not, we'll go with what we've got. I'm on 5.2.7.3. It's not too bad. It's a few months out. But like I say, if we get time at the end, I can run an upgrade. So this is, if you just installed CiviCRM on a standard WordPress, this is what you'll see. You won't see much else. Now, to me, as a Daniela's saying she can't see anything except me. Can't be right. There's a screen showing here. I'm seeing it on the stream. I'm not sure why. Just checking the stream to see what's coming up. Oh, sorry. I've just understood what she was talking about. So, right. So the this is the standard theme that Civi comes with, the admin theme, and obviously some users feel this isn't good enough. It doesn't quite look as good as a lot of the modern software as a service applications do. So there's a drive to, you know, make this look a bit nicer. Now, to me, I'm a data guy. I'm about CRMs performing their actions. So you're kind of trying to get the maximum from the real estate you've got on the screen rather than trying to make it look good. But you know, I can understand that user experience and user interface are kind of intrinsically tied together. So we kind of have to try and make it look nice. From my perspective, the more important things are being able to give the user the information they need and being able to make that clear to them. And it's not necessarily that one screen fits all. And that's where I think, yes, you know, the tools that we've got in CiviCRM really help out and can give your users, you know, if a user's complaining about can it look better, often they don't mean that. What they mean is, I can't see what I want to see, or I can't quite get to the information I want to get to. So sometimes it's just misinterpreted, or they, you know, like the terminology I was using, they don't have that level of terminology. They can't quite get their points across. You know, you have to dig a bit deeper to find out what they mean. So what we're going to look at is there's a couple of extensions that are out there. There's the contact layout editor, there's Shoreditch. I've got a few of the tabs open up here. And there's role editors that you need for permissioning in WordPress, etc., etc. So what we're going to do, which way around should we do this? We'll do the contact layout editor first, because we'll do it in isolation of Shoreditch, and let's just see what happens there. So the contact layout editor, what it allows me to do, well, let's start at the beginning. So what it allows me to do, I think I've just got a couple of contacts in my, just got two. So if I look at a contact, for instance, I've got, let me add in some address information. So I've got some information there. I've got a job title. So I've put some information. So I've got all this information here, and I've got the privacy and comms, and I've got all these tabs right now. It might be a lot of users, a lot of our clients kind of say, I don't want to see nickname. It means nothing to me. We don't have employers. We don't really keep that kind of information necessarily. And can we move the gender and date of birth to over here? And can we move the comms preferences down to the right? And what you would historically have done there is done a template override and made this look however that user wants to look. User wants it to look. And then another user, the events user, comes along and says, well, on my screen, on my home, can I have it all different? Because I want to see their event attendance and I want to see a few other bits and pieces, right? So you would then make a few changes for them, and then they might say, well, can you hide these tabs from these people because I don't need to see them? You then start doing roles, permissions, and it starts to get complicated. It's not difficult, it's just complicated, and the more, often it takes a lot of to and forth to get this back and forth, even to get it to a place where it needs to be. So with the contact layout editor, I can control all this, and I can control it for different users, right? So let's have a look at how we do that. So we go to the extensions, and in the extensions you've got there's quite a lot of extensions now. So I've got the contact layout editor. Now if I just have a quick read of that, it says I need Angular profiles, so it's not downloaded. So let me just try it. I don't want to break it. Let's do Angular profiles. So I'm going to download Angular profiles first. Yes, please. And then I'm going to get, now I'm going to get the layout editor. Not that one, this one. Yes, please. Okie dokie. So I've got those two installed now. And if I go to the customize data and screens, you can see I've got the contact summary layouts there. So when you first look at this, it might look a little bit like what is going on here. So let's call this default. So these are on the left here are the different layouts. So I might have 2 or 3 different layouts. I might have one for events user, and I might have one for volunteer, and then finally I might have one, and this is probably a good example actually. So if I did organizations, because when you're looking at an organization, you don't really want the same layout as individuals, because you're not really you're not looking at the same things. You don't care about necessarily about the address of that organization and stuff like that. You actually want to see who works there, things like that. So you don't always, that's a good example of where 99% of the time you probably do want to change it, even though you never have, how an organization presents. So when I click on these, you can see on the right the thing changes. I'm going to get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. So I've got organizations, volunteers, and event users. The other one was default. So let's make that one. Actually, I'm not going to call it default because there is no such. So we'll just keep it to 2. Let's keep it organization, event users. So if I look at the events users, what I need to do is say, when is this? So these 2 fields up here, so it says, you can see here, it says it's going to show for all contact types, right? So it's not restricting it to individuals. So I'm going to restrict it to individuals. So I'm going to say only when you're viewing individuals should you use this display type. What I would further do there, if it was for events users, I would restrict the group to the events user group. So it's when an events user then looks at a contact summary, that they're going to see this layout, however I set this layout up. And then here I might say, right, that's organizations, and I'm going to leave it as default, so it's to all users. So anyone who looks at a organization through the CiviCRM UI is going to see this layout, right? And they're going to see it the way that I set it up. So let's do this one. So it's individuals. So what do I want to see? I can totally change it around, right? So I'm going to put the phone number up there. Then I'm going to stick the email address over there, and I'm going to put their employer and nickname and stuff down there. And then I'm going to put the demographics and comms preferences up here, and I can have more, right? So I might add another column down here and say stick the website in there, right? What I can do as well is add more columns like that. So I've got a 3rd column there. I could do the same thing here. I can add a 3rd one, and I could stick the item stuff in there, right? So I'm starting to control how this looks. I can also control what this actually says, right? So I might say contact details, for instance, and I can do the same with all the tabs. I can relabel all the tabs. I mean, this is a bit of a crossover with word replacements and translations and all the rest of it. With all these features, you've always got that kind of grey area where you can have multiple extensions, multiple things going on, and they could clash with each other. But just as a simple, if I've got one task and I just want to change the layout of my summary screens, then I can just do it all from here without getting too bogged down with the whole word replacement stuff. So I might say, well, we don't really use tags, so let's turn that off. Not for events users. They don't need to know. They don't need to see notes, and they don't need to see anything about groups, and they don't need to see mailings, right? So like I said, it's not real life example, it's just the way it is. So I can save all of that. I need to add at least one thing to the organization one, so let's put the address in there, and yeah, let's do that. So again, for organisations, we're not. Let's say we're a traditional kind of UK-based not-for-profit. We don't really have a pledge at an organisation level. Normally, you would record that under the main contact and maybe soft credit it, or the other way around, whichever way around you did it. But let's just say, as an example, you're not going to do that, and we don't need to see notes and we don't need to see tags. Yes, as an example again. So save all that. I've got that now. So Fandabradozy, let's have a look at. So I'm just going to find the contact again. That's what I like about live demos. Nothing actually happened there. So let's try that again. Maybe change the settings a little bit. So I am going to get rid of that because I don't know that I'm set as an administrator. I think I am, but anyway, maybe I'm not. So there you go. So I'm not. Me as a user, what I'm logged in as on this is not set as administrator. So therefore, the change wasn't being applied when I looked at that particular contact. But you can see I've changed it all. The tabs have reduced. It's been renamed up here. So it's quite handy, and I can change the icons and stuff as well from the contact editor. What I can also do is make reports available, I think. So I'm just going to try. I haven't tried this before, not on a WordPress site. So let me just see that this works on here. I don't have any data in my system. That's one of the problems. So let's just see. Yeah, there's a couple of contacts there. So okay. So if we go, I've got that report created. And what I need to do is available for dashboards. So that link to, that's a bit confusing, and if you're running reports, then you might, something to know that when someone comes to the report, we don't want them to show the criteria. We want to see the result straight away. So, I should have saved that first. That's good, wasn't it? Yeah, view results. So I'm just going to save that. Not a particular fan of the way this all works now. Okay, so I've set up my report. Now I'm going to try. Let's see if I can get that report included. So let's go to the come on. Maybe there's a setting up here. Doesn't seem to want to play ball. But in theory, I could do that. But also, maybe it doesn't work that way. But also, there's some extensions that make more blocks available. There's one to show relationships on the summary, and if there's one to have pull different bits of content into blocks on the summary, and I think that's the one where you can have reports in there. So if I use that, then I can start to show information, for instance, from the relationships tab. I can show it on the contact summary because I'm running running those particular blocks as reports, and then I don't know why my plus is not working. So then you can add more information into them there. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what's possible in terms of layout and just making a simple enough changes, right? So now, like I said before, a lot of CiviCRM users kind of want to use Shoreditch as a theme. They're not particularly happy with this layout and the way things look and stuff. So for WordPress users, it's not. There's a few things to be aware of. Firstly, it's not an extension that will show up in the list here. So if I search for, if I could spell it right, see, it doesn't show up. It's not actually in this list, right? Because it's not officially supported for what do you call it? It's not officially supported in WordPress environments, but you can still do it, right? So if we go to the CiviCRM extensions directory, we've got Shoreditch there. I'm just going to refresh it. So the latest one is that beta one, the 4th of June. So I'm just going to copy this, copy the link address. I'll have to go into my server. Yeah. So let me just get into the server. Again, this is just a demo box, so I'll just get root actually straight into it. I don't care too much about it. So I know that that's where my extensions live, and what I've got is the two that we downloaded and installed, so Angular and Contact Layout. So let me go and get the Shoreditch one. So let's copy that. Cool, I've got that. So I'm going to unzip it. Okay, so we've got Shoreditch now uncompressed. I've still got the old one, so just for the sake of housekeeping, let's get rid of that. And I need to change the permissioning on the ownership on this. It's owned by root. We don't want it owned by root. We want to change it so that it's owned and belongs to the Apache group. Yeah, just going to do that recursively. So I want to do the parent and all child directories. Let's just see. Now it's looking better. I've got Shoreditch, I've got the contact layout editor, and everything's installed. So now if I go back to my WordPress site, and I go to extensions, I just need to press refresh here. Again, something you often forget to do, and you say, I've done everything, why is it not there? It will be there in a minute. So it's not called that, is it? Bootstrap? No. The only Bootstrap that is for Visualize, which is a different thing. That's an extension that gives you visualization of data. So for instance, it's giving you graphs of contribution incomes and stuff like that, and it's quite clever, but that's not what this is. So we can now install that now that we've got it, and when you install it, it will kick in straight away. So you can see straight away my look and feel's changed, and I've got this kind of new, more modern kind of display stuff. I'm a bit zoomed out. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit. Well, I'm not sure how it's going to respond if I zoom in too much. So you can see the layout. The layout's all changed, and I've got these kind of the tabs and the greys and the kind of shadows and all the rest of it, right? Now the menu kind of goes that whitish color, and then I've got the WordPress actual menu up there, and it just feels a little bit broken when you go to some of the places. So there's this CiviCRM admin utilities extension by Christian. For all your WordPress users, I suggest you have this installed, because it will just stop. It will not necessarily stop, but it will potentially stop a lot of issues spilling over from extensions, from things that are not necessarily 100% compatible or tested with WordPress. Christian's really good, really active in the community, and a lot of this extension especially helps with a lot of issues that are WordPress specific, but to fix them in the CiviCRM world might take a bit of time because of the impact on other platforms. So this kind of extension just helps with a lot of that stuff. So we're gonna install this and try and fix and get that kind of sorted out. So yeah, it's not too bad. I could live with it, but like I say, I'm just trying to show you what I would do just to protect my WordPress environment and make sure that I've got all the stuff, all the helpers that I should have. So let's just search for anything CiviCRM. So obviously, in order to install that's a WordPress plugin, not Civi. So I'm going to do it the way that you manage WordPress stuff. It's already been 40 minutes. Amazing, isn't it? Okie dokie. So install that. And activate that. Cool beans. Right, so if I go into CiviCRM now. So now my menu's gone black. This looks a bit cleaner. The headers look right. The shadows and the pages seem cleaner. And if I go, I didn't do this before. I should have done it before. But if I go into the permissions, then this should be cleaner as well. Looks the same to me. I thought this would be cleaner, but it's not. So, but generally the menu's much tidier, and because it's going to the WordPress style of doing things, I normally collapse that menu. So I'm getting a much more kind of consistent user experience in terms of administrative user experience. All right, so I've got WordPress installed now. So just to finish that bit off, if I go to find contacts now and just do that search again, you can see how the new layout looks. Now you see the content itself looks pretty much the same. All I've really got is this kind of branding and stuff. Like I say, this is all about scale. It's about user experience. It's about all sorts of things, and there's always a balancing act between really delivering functions as opposed to good looking stuff. In my mind, there's always that balance. So if you want Shoreditch though as a WordPress implementer user, you can get it and you can use it, and you can get all the features with it. You can use all the bootstrap stuff and the contact layout editor and the other extensions. I've forgotten what it's called off the top of my head, but maybe I can do another session on how to get reports into those and other blocks into that contact layout editor. So I've got all of that access. So what I just want to quickly talk about, like I say, it's already been 45 minutes. It's amazing, but I'm just going to touch on this now, and maybe in another session we can go into it in a bit more detail. All right, we talked about access control, right? So now I've done the bits around layout and what I want people to see, but what I haven't done anything about is, well, if there's, let's say I've got VIPs in my system, or high profile contacts, and I don't want certain users to be able to see them or see bits of information around. How would I do that? So you've got users and permissions in Civi, and the first thing that you've got access to, this is about areas of the system. So this is about the spreadsheets that we talked about. So if I don't want to a particular role to see contributions, for instance, then I would untick that from their I'm just going to check this because I'm not sure. That one. That was the one I wanted. I thought I did have more than that. For those that can see me, you were seeing that it's getting slowly darker. It's in the UK with the current season. It seems to go dark like immediately. Where is it? I don't know who I'm logged in as. I'm obviously not logged in as the right person, but go back there. So if I wanted to not, for instance, if I didn't want to give them activity, I'll just do that for the sake of it because I can't find the other one. If I didn't want to give someone access to activities, then I would untick this. So in my case, I've got everything's unticked anyway, because like I say, I'm not sure what's going on with this install. But if I said, for instance, you can't see all the custom data, then I would untick this from the roles. Now, what you'll see is these are the standard WordPress roles that come in a WordPress implementation. So often they're not enough, right? So there's nothing here about a staff user, for instance. So how do you classify them? Because WordPress is all about content, and content editors and bloggers and stuff like that. So what you need to do is add more roles. So we normally use this user role editor, and what this lets you do is create more roles. Again, due to time, I won't do this. I'm going to try and finish in the next 10 minutes. So you would install that extension, user role editor, and it's in my the initial slide that I presented, and you would then create more roles. So the first thing I would do when I'm doing a WordPress install is to create a staff role and just decide what areas of the system everyone's going to get, tick them all off, and then that way I've got my staff role set up and I've decided in terms of overall system use what I'm going to start exposing. What you need to be aware of then is if you add more components, like I say, I don't seem to be seeing everything, but if I add more components using the section of the administration that lets me add and remove components, then I need to make sure I add those checkboxes in and give them permission to those components that there it is, there's contribution. So I need to make sure that I tick them and untick them, etc., so that you're managing that. Right? They're not automatically going to get access to stuff because you've set up the new role. So that's the first thing I would do. And then if you've got more users, like you've got events users and things like that you need to start splitting out what they can or can't do, then again I might create more roles for them. In the first instance, I might just go, well, let's create an events user and let's set up a role for them. And then you can give them that role in the from the WordPress user management, and when they log in, they'll automatically get the permissions that you've given for that role. Right. So this is all about, like I said, the spreadsheet and controlling access. It goes a level further because it's got things about. So if we look at the contribution one, it's a little bit small. Let me make this a bit bigger. So if we look at the contribution one, so here I've got some permissions. So can I edit? Can I delete? The same thing with memberships. Can I access membership? Can I edit? Can I delete? So you could start to control what they can or can't get into, right? And like I say, if I've got more roles, then I can start to really get this matrix of access together. So 90% of the time, even 95% of the time, I would say that's enough. Organizations in the not-for-profit world don't need to generally go any further than that. But if you do, and you do need to start hiding records, so specific, so let's say we've got a couple of implementations where they're multinationals and they don't necessarily want each country being able to see the other country's contacts, but at a national level they want to see them. So if I want to get into this kind of level of access, then I'm going to start doing ACLs, right? So ACLs are all about managing that level of control. So let me just say, I'm going to say UK user, for instance, just to give you an example. So I'm creating an ACL that says that UK users. I'm going to assign some users. I don't really have anyone. Let's give the UK user to administrators. Okay, so I've given that to administrators, and then the final bit is what can or can't they do, right? So what I would do here is say UK contacts access. So all, and then I would say a group of contacts, and I would have a smart group for UK people who live in the UK, whether their home address is in the UK or however I'm deciding as a business that I should work, right? So I'm getting into that. So I could then do that, and then that way when this person logs in and they've got UK access, they will see UK contacts only. If I give them more, so if I say they can access UK and Europe, for instance, or Spain or a particular country, they'll also be able to see those contacts, right? So I can get quite clever with this. If I have lots of custom data, and I might not want UK users to see specific tax information that I'm putting against contacts, or grading that I'm putting against donors, or wealth kind of information. I might not want to see it. I might know it at a national level, but I don't necessarily want UK users to see it, even though I want to store it there. Then I need to do two things. One is in the roles, I need to make sure that we don't have access all custom data ticked, because if I do, that trumps this. So if I have access all custom data ticked for a role, then it doesn't matter what I do here for custom data, that person will be able to see all custom data because I've overridden it at a role level. So the first thing I need to do, and that's where 90% of administrators that we see struggling, that's why they're struggling, because they've got the all permission ticked in the role. And like I say, as soon as you do that, your ACLs become invalid, because what I've said at a role level is I can access everything. Well, then the ACL says, well, if you can access everything, what am I doing trying to restrict it? So it's important to just check that. So I can then say, well, okay, if they use a UK user, I'm going to give them access to some custom data, all the custom groups, whatever I set up. Like I said, I've got quite a skeletal system here, so there's not a lot of options, but I could give them access to particular sets of custom data, and not others, right? And then the final one I've got is events. So we often get asked the question of, well, we've got an external volunteer or an external agency that runs events. Can we give them access to only do something for their events? Yeah, you can, right? So Civi does this, and not a lot of people know this actually, but you can just set up events and have different types and give users only access to those events. So they can't do anything except manage the event. You could go further and you could give them access to the participants of that event, but if you just wanted external people coming to manage the event, to administer it, and to do a few things, then it's perfectly possible in Civi to set up the ACL that way. So that's it really. So if I save that, and so if I save all that, then those ACLs would kick in. Like I say, I haven't set up the extension, the user role editor. I haven't got any users either, but hopefully this gives you an idea of what's possible. And if you want to know more, if there's specific areas that you want to know about, like I said, one of the feedback items that came back, and it seems to come back quite a lot, is an hour's too long. Now the problem for me is we're trying to squeeze quite a lot into that hour. I was hoping to even get an upgrade squeezed in, but we're just out of time, and I haven't even actually implemented the ACL. So my learning is that I think we need to have smaller topics and cover them in half an hour to 40 minutes. And if there's anything specific, we can that it works a lot better that way. So if you do have some stuff you'd like to cover, this is the list where we work through. It's ideas.CiviCRM.TV. That domain may change soon for various reasons, but this is where it is at the moment. So one we did today was customizing the CiviCRM UI, and talking a bit about that. So that's the one we covered off today, mainly because it didn't have it didn't need much preparation time from me, being the new year, being in the second, third, fourth lockdown. I don't know how many lockdowns we're in now. Obviously it's quite a busy time for us. We're working remotely, so most of your time you just spend online in meetings. So that's why I picked that one. But we're going forward, we're trying to do the ones with the most votes. So again, if there's something that you want to see us cover off, vote for it, and we'll make sure that it gets prioritized accordingly. I think that is it. So yeah, you can see it's gone dark, and you can see my kitchen is a little bit messy. I say a little bit, others might say a lot. But hopefully that session was useful, and please do comment, feedback on ideas, and we will see you again next week. Thanks, and